Okay, a lovely good morning and welcome to Urban TV. It's an interesting conversation here. We are already in the heat before we actually got on air for the press wall here on Urban TV. My name is Darren Bartlett and I'll be moderating the session today where we shall be looking at some major events that made headlines in Uganda. But before we get into that, it's important for me to let you know that there's a lot of things that have been happening around the world. Case in point, if you go to Nigeria, they're already in the presidential race for 2023, and when you go to Tanzania, they were celebrating their 61st independence yesterday, and want to say happy independence to them. The ECOWAS bloc also adopted a resolution to form a standby army that will be responding to insurgencies that are happening there, and also coups in that region. But also the M23 rebels agreed to withdraw from some regions that they had advanced to, given the truce agreement they had after some discussions with the regional leaders. But also, they said the peace talks will continue in January next year into Feb. We hope that peace will come back to that place. But as you know, that the UN also released a report saying that about 310 people had been killed just in the month of November. With the things that are happening, with actually the civil unrest that is happening in DRC, but we also know that about 50 armed groups from them decided that they will participate actually in the peace talks that are happening. Not to forget that today is International Human Rights Day, and yesterday we're also commemorating the Anti-Corruption Day, which Sarah was okay. She will say what she will have to say. I don't want to say certain things on her behalf. All this information can be got on our website, which is the newvision.co.ug, or if you can download the Vision Digital Experience app, you'll find all those stories that I've been talking about. One of the biggest stories from my producer, he says that it's about how Peru changed guards from one president to another. He tried to dissolve the Congress, and instead it happened that he was the one who was arrested, and no change of guard happened. But that all, like I said, is on our website and a Vision Digital Experience. But today we're going to be looking at two major stories in the country, and one of them is the Parliament adopting the report that came from the privileged, sorry, I don't know, I lost my chain of thought when I was speaking. From the committee that was put there to investigate Honorable Minister Persis Namuganza, and that they want to move ahead and censure her. But that is one of the biggest stories. It has been in the papers throughout the week, since Wednesday to today. When you open New Vision page 2, it's there. And also look at what's happening in the NRM. But for now, let's first get into our headlines, and then we come back and discuss our topics.
The State Minister for Housing, Persis Namuganza, was convicted over gross misconduct and belittling the Speaker of Parliament. Today, Minister Namuganza struggled to block the House from debating the report by the Rules Committee, which recommended her censure after convicting her on misconduct.
Report, which was tabled before this House, as I perused through it, I found that it was contravening offending several constitutional provisions, and therefore I have made a petition to the Constitutional Court under number 41 of 2022, challenging the actions and findings and conclusions of the report, of the committee report, which was tabled before this House.
However, Namuganza was overruled by the Deputy Speaker Thomas Tayewa on grounds that the matter before Parliament was not sub-judicial.
It is not above the law. And that's why you took us to court and you lost. To stop the investigation of the committee, and court ruled in favor of Parliament. So, and Parliament complied with court, went ahead. So, colleagues, I would propose we look at the merits and demerits of the debate.
The House kicked off the debate with emotional submissions as legislators pinned the minister for demeaning the House.
Conduct ourselves with the decorum that this Parliament deserves. And then the words, the diction, the non-verbal cues that were expressed by the Honorable Minister, in my opinion, do not reflect the position she's in. It is therefore unfortunate that even some of us that did not know this honorable minister in detail are now questioning and reconsidering our position that members are echoing here.
The August House heated more when the Kasambia County MP, David Kabanda, accused the minister for bribing some MPs to frustrate the censure motion.
Minister, the Honorable Namuganza, was heard this morning telling a colleague that don't worry, I am going to handle that parliament. I have already given money to each of them and they are going to be by my side. She was heard this morning and she was here distributing money, and Honorable Waliomu Moses is one of them who were distributing money on her behalf.
This is not a national theater whereby the honorable member stands and starts deceiving the whole nation when the whole world is watching us. Is the honorable member in order to lie to this honorable house that I was given the money delivered by who? By you, honorable member?
Upon realizing that things were not moving on smoothly with Namuganza, the Prime Minister Nabanja and other senior legislators chipped in and pleaded with her to apologize to the National Assembly.
I'm doing this in good faith. Today, honorable members, we are all members of the same family. We are all members of the same family, and I want to beg you on her behalf to forgive her.
It does not cost you anything. If the father of the Deputy General can apologize to the people of Kenya that I'm sorry for the Deputy General for what he has done, what about you? Why don't you apologize and we go?
C begins by you accepting and recognizing that you have done wrong. And that is the humility that everyone is talking about.
But this was not easy for the Bukono County MP, and her attempt to apologize was denied by the House on grounds that it was too casual.
Honorable members, if I hurt you in any way, I regret.
Minister is pleading. In fact, for me, I didn't know that Honorable Namuganza is this powerful. Now I know. The Prime Minister is pleading. The Deputy is pleading. The whole Parliament is pleading. Mr. Speaker, this Parliament is supposed to make decisions following the rules, not to plead with the people.
The House went on to adopt the report with a recommendation to censure Minister Persis Namuganza.
The report of the committee as amended. Those in favor say aye, and to the contrary, nay.
It is currently in the hands of legislators to embark on the journey of the censure motion that can see the embattled minister out of office. Report compiled by Fred Kajubi for the news at Parliament.
Well, you censured the...
All right, now the Honorable State Minister for Housing and Urban Development, Persis Namuganza, finds herself in hot soup after the Rules, Privilege and Disciplinary Committee tabled a report in Parliament, and if I quote the report, some of the findings that they say that they degraded public trust and confidence in the integrity of the office of the Speaker, members of the institution of Parliament, and brought the House and its members into disrepute. In addition, the statements of Namuganza made in an interview with NTV were contemptuous, demeaning of the institution of Parliament, and undermined its authority. Now, in studio, I have a panel that is going to be shedding some light on this, and one of them on my right is Dr. Sarah Birete, who is the ED of Center for Constitutional Governance. Welcome, good morning.
Thank you, and glad to be back on this show.
You are fire, eh? The conversation that has been happening here, I think it should go on air when we get there. Also, representing NRM, there is Dr. Emmanuel Dombo, who is the Director of Communications, NRM. Good morning, Doctor.
Thank you very much. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be with you this morning.
thank you for braving the cold. Most people wouldn't, they would just go back to the blankets instantly when they see the weather is not
I had
friendly.
to think twice, because if you hadn't circulated the flyer, and I didn't want to create a problem for you.
But you've never disappointed
I've
us.
never done
You
that.
always show up.
I always appear.
And on the right of Dr. Emmanuel Dombo is Patrick Nsamba, who is the MP of Kasanda North. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing today?
I'm very well.
Now, I want to start right from you. You're the Member of Parliament. The biggest part of Wednesday, probably, in Parliament was spent discussing Honorable Persis Namuganza, a situation you want to censor her to, you know, to see that first of all, the first report, you had asked her that she steps aside, you do investigations. Now you want her removed from the post as a minister. First, take us through what exactly happened on Wednesday, and why are you moving the motion to censor her?
Now, thank you very much, my brother. First of all, allow me to greet the people of Uganda, especially the people of Kasanda, who are still under lockdown in the circumstances of Ebola. We're looking forward to that probably on 17th, the President gives us of the lockdown, because it has taken a tall order on our people. In terms of livelihoods, in terms of death, people are dying, other diseases other than Ebola. So we're looking forward for 17th. Now on Wednesday I was in Parliament. What amazed me, there was a topic on corruption, because this was corruption and anti-corruption week.
But you can call it also corruption week.
She decides not
yeah,
to call
you
it
can call it corruption week or anti-corruption week. But the speaker was so quick to finish that topic so hurriedly that a member of parliament would never be given more than 2 minutes, and only a few were able to speak. Why was the speaker hurrying? To go and handle Namuganza issue. I wonder why to him that was more bigger than
the corruption issue?
The anti-corruption. Because the corruption problem is the bigger problem in the country. But a lot of time was spent discussing an individual, Honorable Namuganza Persis, who in my opinion has been at that stage before, where she is. The Speaker, Honorable Taiwa, knows that Honorable Namuganza was an operation in the 10th Parliament. And I use my words very clearly when I said Namuganza was an operation to bring down Kadaga. And she did her job and brought down Kadaga. Now, everyone sees Namuganza, why can't she? Now, we were there, I remember if you were following the 10th Parliament. Where we are, we were there. Namuganza versus the Speaker of Parliament. And did the Parliament achieve anything? Nothing. Here we are. It is now Namuganza versus the Speaker of what? Of Parliament. Many people were wondering why Namuganza couldn't say sorry.
Do you have an idea why she didn't say sorry?
Why that kills the script. Humanly, you would expect anybody to say sorry under the circumstances. But the source of instruction, the instruction, does not require her to say so. The battle now is to bring down this Anita Among. And it is not going to end here until this is achieved. There was no way Namuganza would feel sorry for anyone because she's an operation.
Who is operating her?
The system.
The one with the remote.
Yes. So for me, I was in that parliament just looking at things because I was there in the 10th parliament when all this happened.
As an NRM MP.
That may not count very much because I was there in NRM and I left. You understand? When Kadaga was so this powerful lady in the country, the operation came to bring her down. How do you bring her down? Bring her down in Busoga. She was a powerhouse in Busoga. Namuganza is the one who brought her down. So here there is a new speaker who is trying to create some power center somehow in the country. Maybe not in Busoga. The other one was in Busoga. And of course in Busoga, she was also a powerhouse, a power center in the country.
Here she's the new Mama Busoga.
Who?
The speaker.
No. Me, I'm not talking about whether it was Busoga, but I'm talking about a power center.
Power center in the country?
In the country.
Or in parliament?
In the country. And there is this effort to bring her down. Now, anybody who sees these things in a simpler and easy way is going to look at it. Why was Namuganza so adamant not to say sorry? Yes.
So, Patrick, are you saying that these allegations put on her...
The Deputy Speaker was the one chairing, Honorable. The Deputy Speaker was the one in chair. The Deputy Speaker is the one who established an ad hoc committee. Why are you bringing in the speaker?
Let him finish his point. And that's why I was actually asking that. Are you saying that these allegations put on her of demeaning the House of Parliament...
she will continue to demean it. And she will never give a damn about that house because she's not operating in the interest of the country. She is operating in the interest of someone. If she was a member of parliament who looks at that parliament as a center of integrity, as a center where Ugandans keep watching to see the outputs of that house, she would have thought again to say, this what I'm doing is not right. Because how did it begin? It never began with the session on Wednesday. It began way back in September with the investigations. Now, somebody may ask, are these true or not true? Yes, you may look at them as true, but where does this minister get all the powers? And I'm telling you that parliament will not censure her. That parliament will not censure her. I'm here speaking. Because all of them, they are going to be called to say you leave this matter. And they will leave the matter. Even when the speaker tries to achieve, she may not achieve.
Thank you so much, Honorable Patrick. Honorable Dongo, you've been to Parliament. You've been there for a very long time. And Patrick seems to say that what we are seeing could be probably a theater where we are seated and watching, but the actual sense, there's something bigger than what the eyes meet. What is your reaction to his submission there?
Unfortunately, my perception is that even his argument looks like the extended theater which is happening in Parliament, because Parliament is a sacred institution in the democratic process of the country, regarded extremely high, with the responsibility to do so many things, including with the possibility of impeachment of a president. They approve all appointments by government. Their committees have powers of the High Court. Their members are honorable, and their presiding officers are right honorable members of the community. There are not many institutions. There isn't an institution in Uganda that is regarded that high. That is why even the presiding officer, the speaker, is the number 3 in the country. And therefore, they have a representative capacity that where we are not as Ugandans, the mandate to represent us and think for us is in their hands. They must pass good laws for the good governance of the country. They must allocate money to ensure services are delivered, and they must supervise government. Now, you cannot advance Honorable Samba's argument without hurting the very intention why Parliament was put there in the first place. Because there is a committee report. If Honorable Samba wants to believe what he's saying, did that person controlling the remote, as he says, deliberately send Honorable Namuganza so that this could happen? Because how did we get here in the first place? Because once you go, you follow Honorable Samba's argument, then you defeat the objective of the report and the purpose and recommendations that the report made. Therefore, I want to dissuade my brother that even when these conspiracy theories may be read into what is happening, let us look at the main functions of Parliament, what the committees recommended, whether there was credibility in what the committees found out, and how can we disengage ourselves out of this situation. Unfortunately, I wasn't in the 10th Parliament, and I'm not in the current Parliament, and I would debate with limited knowledge, but also with the decorum to my colleagues in the House, because I'm a member of Parliament emeritus who has been there. I respect what they do, and I know what challenges that they go through, even when they may want to censure censure a minister. I've participated in censures before, and at the highest level.
And actually, I was going to give an example of, some ministers were censored. Jim Uwezu was censored. Chirunda Chivejinja before. The circumstances almost.
Honorable Chirunda Chivejinja resigned before the censure motion was brought on the floor. It did not materialize into formal censure, and once he saw that the signatures had been collected, he submitted his resignation. And for smaller things than what is happening right now, that tells you that at that time Parliament was equally on. But on the Namuganza situation, I believe members of Parliament missed a very big opportunity, first and foremost, when the Right Honorable Jacob Olanya died. What the speakers have been doing all along is that when Honorable Sekandi was in the chair, he had a whole almost 20 years first to train the members of Parliament who were there, who had an opportunity to learn from him how to preside over the House. When Honorable Okadaga came, Honorable Okadaga was training because she had learned from the previous speakers. She had performed exceedingly well in presiding over the matters of the House. And when Right Honorable Jacob Olanya was selected by members of Parliament, even the few times that he sat in that chair, you'd see that he also had the responsibility now to begin training the members of Parliament. Whom has he trained? First of all, the deputy speakers. Secondly, there are smaller speakers in the House called chairpersons of committees. The chairpersons of committees, when you go to the rules of procedure, once they go in that presiding role, they begin presiding over committees of parliament with powers almost similar to the speaker, only that with the limited veracity because they are only presiding the committees. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. And I want to congratulate Honorable Anita Mong for fitting in the shoes and learning while running. Because that's one of the things that has happened. I want to give you one example of a previous speaker, a decision of a previous speaker, called Right Honorable Pakabulu. The rules of procedure prevent members of parliament to read a prepared speech on the floor. But the rules also allow members of parliament to make reference to the notes prepared. Now, in one of the debates, which was very contentious, wanted to really to attack the members of parliament for whom they had prepared the speeches in order to debate a very important matter for which they didn't have information. And for us, we wanted to shoot this one down. Now, during the debate, when one of these members, I'll not mention the name, was given a speech and she started reading, we raised the procedure point, whether it was in order somebody to keep reading a prepared text. And in Honorable Pakabulo's wisdom, he said he had been observing the member, and he only realized that the member was just making constant reference to the prepared text. Now, whether constant reference would amount to reading, but that was an interpretation that enabled decorum to prevail without undermining the integrity of the other member, without ruling her out of order. But you see, it is something that you could only learn if you see somebody doing it. And that is something that this House missed when Honorable Jacob Olanya died. Now going further on what is going to happen. The members of parliament, quite often when you watch them debate, you discover that many of them are, one, new, still in parliament, and they are still in the induction process. It has taken this long, but also learning does not come just in a day. The experience with which I talk about parliament is something that I acquired over 20 years that I sat in the House, watched the presiding officers, watched my senior colleagues debate in the House, and I had the opportunity to partake on some of it. Even the current members of parliament, after 2-3 years, they will be far much better than what they are. And they will discover one important thing, that the rules of procedure, even when members of parliament become honorable, the rules of procedure were put there in order to maintain a certain level of decorum. Unfortunately, I've seen the presiding officers selectively applying the rules, and I knew at one time they may have challenges. For instance, this point of public matters of national importance, the way people have been leisurely getting up, everybody, they could even take a whole more than 1 hour debating matters of national importance, and everybody just jumping up. But when you got the rules, that issue there has a procedure. You must have notified the speaker must have agreed that this is a matter of national importance. You don't just spring up on the floor and just shoot up because you have come from the constituency and there was a problem. You must have gone through a process in order the speaker not to be ambushed, but in order the speaker to maintain decorum. But when you look at what has been happening, now that creates a challenge. So going on the censure motion, members of parliament, first and foremost, the members themselves, including the ministers, they must know the importance of the institution of parliament that has powers to approve. Two, they are given this decorum in order to create an atmosphere through which they must deliberate without anybody perceiving that somebody is greater, somebody is lower, but you are all honorable colleagues. Actually, the rules prevent you to get up and say, for instance, Sam, I was saying this. You cannot do that. Because the rules specifically say the members of parliament shall be addressed as, like the Honorable so-and-so was saying.
Not by name, first name.
Not by
directly.
name, anyhow, in order to maintain that decorum. So if any member has been in that parliament long enough and knows that these things must be done, would also know that when such a report comes up, it may require a member of parliament to come up to honor the House by either apologizing, but the apology should not be instigated.
Can I give you some information, Honorable Dong?
Please, I'll take it.
Please allow.
Okay.
When this matter came before Parliament, when Namuganza abused the institution of Parliament, she was sent to the Rules Committee. And in the Rules Committee, she refused to go there. She refused. And she sent a lawyer. That is my representative.
There are times when she missed, but there are times when she came with a lawyer.
Yeah, but even when she turned up,
She first sent a lawyer. When she turned up, she walked away.
she walked away. Yeah. Okay? Now, when it came before Parliament, she somebody who tells this House that this is a useless institution. Yes. And when every member is watching. That's the information I wanted to give you.
In conclusion,
to re-emphasize my point that the Namuganza is not an ordinary member of Parliament.
In conclusion, I want to strongly argue that still Parliament is a sacred institution as far as the democratic processes and processing of issues in the country is concerned. And the Right Honourable Prime Minister tried as much as possible to come in, but then one of the things I want to find out, members of Parliament, whether the findings within the report can be cured by an apology. Because if it is abuse of office, like the report seems to say, then in their own thinking, would an apology remedy the challenges that came up? Or they are using this in order to settle other challenges which they may be having internally as an institution. These are questions which I ask in good faith, having been a member of that Honourable House many years ago.
Just hold it there. Sarah, you've heard what Patrick is saying, what Emmanuel is saying. Patrick says that there could be another theory somewhere coming up, trying to fight this, the new speaker, Anita Mong. As a matter of fact, we saw Pastor Namuganza get on the floor and say, in future, she wants to move a motion that Honorable Magogo and Anita Speaker procured a marriage legally. So, in his theory, he thinks it is a fight. He believes that maybe Parliament is not just doing enough, and he feels that an apology cannot remove the issues of abuse of office. What is your take?
I want first to broadly talk about the importance of Parliament as an institution. Parliament is a temple of democracy. Article 79 is very clear on the functions of Parliament to make laws for the peace, order and development of Uganda and promote constitutional governance in Uganda. And I associate myself with the submissions of Honorable Dombo, Emeritus, on the importance of Parliament for matters of emphasis. Of late, the level or the bar, like we call it in law, of Parliament has been on a continuous degeneration trend, to the big disappointment of the citizens, of actors in democracy like myself, and of so many other interested stakeholders in the promotion of constitutional governance in this country. The reasons for degeneration are partly, resulting from the general degeneration in the country, but also the quality of leadership as well as membership of Parliament. and I know this is a very controversial submission I'm making, but I can adduce evidence to substantiate it. Having said that, I agree with Honorable Sambo on one issue. That's Namuganza. Honorable Namuganza was controversial in the 10th Parliament, and she picked unnecessary fights with the Right Honorable Kadaga, resulting from their local politics in Busoga. And later in elections with other actors from NRM. As to whether that is what she's continuing to do in this parliament is what I might not agree with. I think in this parliament, what we are seeing is the low-level character of Honorable Namuganza, but also the low levels of parliament in general. And why do I say that? Like Honorable Dombo said, you know, parliament is expected to act in a certain manner, in a respectable, in a distinguishable manner. And that should be the basis of example of other institutions that they check on a daily basis, they preside over, they approve and disapprove in terms of ascending to office, in terms of budgets, in terms of accountability, and in terms of conduct of the people that lead all other government institutions. Article 118 of the Constitution gives Parliament powers to even impeach a president. So that is the level at which they are supposed to conduct business. What we see in Parliament over time is like a village gathering. It falls in the eyes. No. I am a constitutional watchdog. And that is in the capacity in which I am appearing here.
Okay.
So I'm saying that the conduct of Parliament is below what the framers of the Constitution envisaged in our democracy. The caliber, the quality of debate, inability to do research, inability to authoritatively deal with the wishes, aspirations, and values of the citizens is at stake in this Parliament. And I'm sure if anybody did a survey on the levels of trust in this Parliament, you would be about 30% from the people. I'm sure that is the highest they can score. So as we talk about decorum on the conduct of the members of Parliament, we need to talk about values that the institution must stand for, must portray. Just last week, there are pictures on social media. This week, no, it's not last week.
This week.
There are pictures on social media of a birthday gift in front of our coat of arms. Is Parliament a kindergarten? Even peace clapping. Is Parliament a kindergarten? Can't people separate their private lives from a national institution, a temple of democracy? Is that too hard to ask? That you don't throw your birthday gifts in front of our coat of arms? So the decorum cuts across from the leadership to the MPs. It's not just Namuganza. Namuganza is on the spotlight, but what is the conduct of other people? It is all wanting. Let's go to Namuganza. There was an ad hoc committee investigating the sale of Naguru land. 3 ministers were on spot. Minister of Lands then, who is the current IGG. Yes. The State Minister of Lands then, who is Namuganza, and the Minister of Finance, Kasaija. And the issue, the contentious issue, was the alleged presidential directive to allocate land to fictitious people. The Minister of Lands generates a letter to the Minister of Finance that they have a presidential directive to allocate land, among other issues, because there was also money involved. They don't attach the copy of the said directive. So the committee asks, where is the directive? And nobody could produce it. Kasaija apologized before the ad hoc committee, said I was misread. I thought my technical team had before the committee. Honorable Bet Kamya comes and says also why it was hearsay. And who generated the hearsay? Honorable Namuganza. I think Parliament had a right to investigate such clumsy issues. Part of what Namuganza is accused of is having made a comment that important matters of Parliament are moving from substantive committees to ad hoc committees. Why ad hoc committees when they are substantial committees of Parliament? And the response was given that when an emerging issue comes, and maybe the committees are busy, Honorable Domba will guide. Then a speaker can set a special committee to investigate. Whether she had ground on that or not, because that was part of the issues she went to court, but Justice Sekana dismissed her claims in court, and she's appealing.
Yeah, she actually petitioned it.
Yeah, she's appealing the decision of Justice Sekana, and Justice Sekana said you can't cry that there's no justice when you've given a right to be heard.
When you are being called.
And the rules of natural justice are clear. If you are being accused of anything, are you given a right to be heard? And if you are given a right to be heard and you abuse it, which Honorable Namuganza did, then what should the committee do? Are you going to hold the people at ransom with your drama? Of course, the committee had a right to proceed. And when now they make recommendations, she again said the Parliament is useless. She knows executive cannot act in the same manner as Parliament, which also I think was out of order.
The executive are sober.
Yes. Executive is checked by Parliament. Parliament is a supervisor of the work of executive. So that is also out of order on her part. Then when finally her matters are now away from the ad hoc committee because the report was made, she now goes under rules, which is chaired by a senior yes, Honorable Abdu Katundu. Then her conduct also is wanting in the rules committee. So what do you do with that character? She's among the people who are not fit to be MPs. In my view, she's among the people bringing down the institution of Parliament.
I will move to you, Honorable Patrick, because it looks like the two are saying your institution or the institution of Parliament is just not doing its job. As a matter of fact, this is someone who has been with the committee before on the issues of land, and then now for the meaning of making utterances on one of the interviews on TV. But you instead of acting, because you have procedures, you are begging for apologies instead of acting. And the Honorable Minister herself, Percy, says those things will be decided by the executive because they are the sober ones. So I don't know what the others are.
Now, I want generally to agree with the two.
That this
what,
Parliament is not
about what Parliament should be.
Okay.
Because they come out clearly to define what the Constitution defines. But they are not on what Parliament is as of now.
What is it? You can tell us.
The entire country, we may be talking about Parliament, but all institutions in the country are on a degeneration trend. All. And I don't want to see Parliament to be exceptional, because all institutions are failing to do what they are supposed to do because of one powerful man in this country. How would you explain the fact that up to now members of Parliament have spent more than a year on a bailable offense and they've not received a bail. And no one wants to talk about it. Members of parliament, people cannot run away from the country. How do you explain the fact that the police in this country cannot know people who are abducted day and night? The institutions that are charged by constitution to do that cannot do it, do not know. So generally, whereas I agree with them that the level of parliament has totally gone down, I totally agree with you. But it is not parliament alone. It is all the institutions. And that happens whenever democracy is on the downward trend. Whenever you see democracy, democracy, people think about democracy in terms of elections. But I want to think about democracy in terms of how much power do the real people have in the governance of their country.
Power in parliament?
A lot.
On paper, we do.
In practice?
In practice, we don't.
How?
The parliament Honorable Dombo was talking about was an independent parliament, not the one of today. Where we used to watch these Dombos speak for 15 minutes. I one time saw him speak for over 40 minutes.
As a petitioner.
As a petitioner?
Yes. Powerful petition.
Exactly. I remember I've ever seen Honorable Rania speak for 2 hours in the House. Yes. And I think I'm right.
Yes.
The best today's parliament can give you is 2 minutes.
Because you're many.
That's not the issue.
Everyone wants to speak.
No.
500 MPs.
No.
Okay.
That's not the issue.
So what could be the issue?
Because I am sitting in the Pan-African Parliament. We have over 250 members of parliament. But their systems to allow a member of parliament bring up a matter, debate it, discuss it, and process it.
Does today's parliament have those systems?
The UK parliament has 600 members of parliament.
Yeah,
but their system.
Somebody can speak for 30 minutes.
Exactly.
Yes.
So that's why I'm asking. So do you
Now,
have a system?
This parliament of yours that you want to do what is supposed to be done was reduced to a village, like I want to associate myself.
A village gathering.
A village gathering. Even when you have a serious matter that you may want to raise, especially matters that deal with governance, there is an opportunity. Because every time you deal with matters of governance, you're talking about the state. And the presiding officer is a representative, not of the people of Uganda, but the representative of the state. So that is the predicament where we are. I feel the pain of Sarah. I don't feel the pain of him because he's part of the system that he has degenerated us to this level.
May I give him information?
Please do.
Okay. Because I took his information and one good turn.
So it's your time.
One good turn deserves another.
20 years experience. You pick information.
I want to tell him that even at the time when we had parliament doing all these things, the presiding officers were coming from government, not from the opposition. We had Right Honorable Pakavulo, was
one of the best.
One of the best, and was the chief political commissar when he left parliament and Minister of Foreign Affairs. He presided over the CA. Right Honorable Edward II, now His Excellency Edward II, he was a chairperson of a committee, became a speaker of parliament, and he did a wonderful job, even when he was coming from government. And all the other speakers who are coming up. I want to encourage my friend that members of parliament...
Are you still giving
I thought
information?
you're giving him information. That's what I thought. You're giving him information.
It was longer information.
Make it short.
Thank you very much for the information, but Honorable Dombo, you're just not being honest. If you're a honest man, you remember how Wapakablo became speaker.
At least I'm not dishonest.
Yes, you have continuously becoming dishonest.
Maybe he just didn't say it, but it's okay.
He knows how the second is, how members of parliament had the power on who becomes
The speaker.
the speaker.
Till today.
Not today. Not today.
Today the president comes to you and vote.
Not today. Honorable Dombo knows that the parliament then, they would sit as members of parliament to agree on how business must run to the following day. Yeah, I was young, but I used to follow up on these things. I'm told the members of parliament, these Dombos, would leave parliament at midnight with a strategy on how things and how business is going to move.
And that's why I asked you.
And we were poorly paid.
But you are very
But
serious and
very independent.
Yeah, now it's a business. Even the parents
Exactly. Now, today, the situation is different. Even when you have a burning matter concerning the people of Uganda, my friend, the speaker is all this powerful person that cannot give you even space to do that. Now, going back to the issue of Honorable Namuganza, Sarah, what you missed in what you brought about the Naguru land, the said land, the presidential directive thing, it is the president who gave that land to manage some company in America somewhere. Now here,
a non-existent company.
a non-existent company, and written by the president of this republic. Now everyone in this country is very careful. When something is coming from the president, everyone is very careful and not even know how to handle what comes next. That's why for me, I know Namuganza knows the source of her power. I know Namuganza looks at this parliament as parliament that can do nothing to her. And I know there are very many people who are operating in this country with impunity. The mighty powerful parliament that we think we have has been reduced like any other institution. And for me, that's too much for every Ugandan to take. That comes in a rotten system. In any country where the system is strong, one, the institutions must be strong. All institutions. The only way a country can move forward is when institutions can prevail over politicians. But here, we have a system that the institutions are weaker by the day, all institutions. Even when we talk about the civil society sector, are you gaining strength?
We are being close.
Are you gaining strength? So even in the space where they were operating in, the space is also shrinking. And that is the predicament where we are, and that's the country we have at the moment. So do not expect Parliament to appear so normal in an abnormal situation. What you put, it's garbage in, that's what they say, garbage in, garbage out. If your system of elections can give you those quality of members of parliament, so please accept it. Because the system of elections can produce that quality. All good people in this country are running out of politics. The Saras of today would be members of parliament, but ask her to contest, she will say, no, I can't go into...
That was going to be my private question to her.
No, they can't. And there are so many of them who cannot dare the current politics. Because the current politics does not look for that.
But Patrick, I don't know, whenever you say that this parliament has no power, I see some of these decisions.
And I'm not talking about Parliament alone, all institutions.
I am focusing on Parliament because it is an institution, like you said, a temple of democracy. We feel like
that is said is a temple of democracy.
Temple of democracy. It can make laws, come up with rules that can govern this country if passed. But every time you say that it doesn't have power, I'm trying to imagine then what is your function as Parliament? Anybody would ask, even a viewer would ask.
Currently.
Because you can sit there and say, we no longer want 47 million, we don't want 200 million, you will be giving us 5 million as salary.
If corruption is at its peak.
You can.
If corruption is at its peak and you can't do nothing about it.
Are you saying the members of Parliament are corrupt?
Parliament. No, I'm not talking about members.
Parliament is corrupt.
Yeah, and you can also not rule out that fact that even Parliament is corrupt. But all institutions, the corruption is at its peak. If abuse of human rights is at its peak, when you can't even talk about it in Parliament, when you go in an election and the guns rule the day, and you can't talk about it in your Parliament, then you can't sit there and you say, as Ugandans, and you say we have a parliament in which we expect all things to be to happen for the reasons why parliament was set up. The current situation, and for me, I still insist in the statements I'm making. You can't go to judiciary and you say the judiciary is independent and is doing the function it is supposed to do in this country. You can't go to institutions, say the institutions of justice and the police and the rest, and you say they are doing what they are supposed to do. Even when you leave those ones, it has been extended to non-government institutions like the media. Even the media is sanctioned to the extent that they are very careful on how to handle.
They are beaten. Their cameras on.
Yes. Now, where you have a general in the army breaking this institution in broad daylight, and the UPDF, none of them can say anything, and even the Parliament cannot say nothing about it. That is the country where we are. Let's be honest to ourselves.
Thank you much, Honorable Patrick. I want us to go in a break, but stay tuned because Emmanuel and Sarah will be reacting to that. Let's take a break and return.
Urban